Good evening, and welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. I'm Bob DELANEY, Executive Director of the Institute for Labor Studies and Research. Labor Vision, a production of the Institute, focuses on topics of importance and interest to working Rhode Islanders. We hope you enjoy this evening's edition. Welcome to this edition of Labor Vision. I'm Bob DELANEY. Today, August the 23rd, Verizon workers are off the picket line and back on the job. For the past 2 weeks since their contract expired, these workers have been on strike, members of the Communication Workers of America and IBEW 2323. They believe that these issues were important enough to strike over. In this evening's edition, we are joined by Kevin Desmond, past president of IBEW Local 2323, as well as Billy McGowan, business manager for IBEW 2323 as well. Gentlemen, I know you're very tired. It's been a tough 2 weeks. I thank you so much for coming, and I look forward to a conversation about something that's important to all of organized labor. Billy, let's begin with you. You've had a rich history of organized labor, of working with the community, of economic development. Let's talk about, who does IBEW 2323 represent? Who are these people that we're seeing?
IBEW Local 2323 represents approximately 850 employees of Verizon in the state of Rhode Island. And we're part of a larger delegation from Virginia to Massachusetts, both the IBEW and the Communication Workers of America, representing 45,000 striking Verizon workers over the past 2 weeks. And we have had great success over the years in collective bargaining, and rightfully so for our members. And the fight that we went through over the last 2 weeks was over our collective bargaining rights and our gains that we've made on behalf of our members. And let's not forget that we're talking about a corporation, a Verizon Corporation, whose profits exceeded $26 billion over the last 2 years. That's their profits. Very successful corporation. And Verizon made no secret when bargaining commenced on June 22nd that they basically were out to get us. They were out to get both unions, and they were out to set us back at least 50 years in collective bargaining rights. As a matter of fact, during the strike, they actually took out an advertisement in many newspapers throughout the country saying that the union was right, that Verizon actually does want to set the collective bargaining process back 50 years. And while that was unconscionable, that was pretty much what we encountered for 2 months worth of bargaining. And I am very proud of the fact that my union, the IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and the Communication Workers of America said, enough is enough. We're not going to take it anymore. We went out on strike because we wanted to demonstrate to the company that we were serious about protecting what we've worked so long and so hard to get in our collective bargaining agreement. And I think the company was surprised. They didn't expect us to take the action that we did. Obviously, we're in an environment right now in this country where it seems every anti-union entity out there is trying to attack working people and unions. From Wisconsin, Ohio, New Jersey, even in the state of Rhode Island, Massachusetts, we have had workers whose collective bargaining rights have been challenged. And it's not fair, because unions for 100 years have made this country great, have made this country as good as we can be. I am very proud of the fact that my job as a union business manager, I'm dedicated to elevating the standard of living and working conditions for the people I represent. There's nothing wrong with that. We want to bring people up. We want to bring people up to a decent standard of living. The middle class of this country, many of them working people, are being squeezed. And Verizon, if they were successful in these negotiations, were going to eliminate more union jobs, send them overseas to places like India, the Philippines, and Mexico. They wanted to eliminate all of our job security. So they were looking to eliminate jobs here in the state of Rhode Island and in the region, New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, even though they're very profitable, even though many of their profits are generated from this region through Verizon customers, even though their sales of Fios, their new high-speed internet, cable TV, and telephone service is rapidly growing in the state of Rhode Island, in some communities up to 40%. But despite that, and despite the profits, they still wanted to eliminate jobs. And that just wasn't right, and that wasn't something that we were just going to sit by and let happen.
I can't get past the fact of the amount of profit that Verizon made in the past 2 years. In our discussions prior, and you just referred to the fact that they've taken in $26.4 billion profit in the last 2 years. But I think something unique in looking at the information prior to the interview, I came up with a number that said $258 million was paid to their top 5 executives in the last 4 years. And yet they're concerned about average working people going out doing high quality work. What I don't understand is that what kind of a business decision would it be when you're making a profit at that level to try and attack the workers who do high quality work that would allow the installation of Fios that has been the center mark of their profit for the last number of years? You know, it astounds me. Kevin, in terms of the workers, you've been the past president for a long time. You know these workers who are on the pole every day doing the work. From what I see, that's a brand new generation of very young workers, highly skilled technical workers. What do they think about this? They've given their future to Verizon.
Well, to your point, it's a new technology, and a very high percentage of our membership has got 15 years or less with the company. In some cases, and with some of the newer hires, Fios is literally all they know. And they do very good work. To your point, the company has profited handsomely off the efforts of those guys and women. And our younger membership, I think, finds it very hard to understand that a company, a private employer, that has turned a tremendous profit, to your point, 26 and change billion over the last couple of years. They are, in the state of Rhode Island, among other places, in the process of rolling out their state-of-the-art Fios system, as Bill said. And it would seem to be a great potential for, pardon me, a win-win type of scenario. I think where the company does well, our members by extension do well. I think there might have been some anticipation on the part of some of the younger members that maybe we wouldn't have these kind of problems in negotiations with the company because the point you make is such an obvious one. So they're confused, I think, when they saw what the company's offer was, and the company's more or less take it or leave it position with the negotiations. And I think at the same time they saw, in a lot of ways too, the value of belonging to a union, where at least you had some apparatus through which, by joint activity, by collective activity, that you could keep the employer from basically just implementing whatever they wanted to implement. So.
I think it's interesting too when we take a look at this whole situation in conversations that we've had over the last while. It became very obvious, especially in a comment that even was obvious in the Providence Journal, where Bob Kerr made reference to the fact that Verizon really did something more than just for your members. In a tough economy, in high unemployment situations, your members went on strike for workers' rights. It's as simple as that. And what they did by going back to work, some people may say, well, is it over? Is it not? The win has started already. Bill, would you agree with that?
I would agree with that, absolutely. And I'm very proud of the fact that my members and both unions had the courage in these economic conditions to take on the corporate giant Verizon for what was right. And Bob Kerr is right. This was a fight for all workers in this country. It was a fight for all unions in this country. This is a fight for the middle class of this country who don't belong to unions. Unions have been villainized. They've been made to look like we're the problems for everything going on. And I would just ask people who have that attitude to look at corporations such as Verizon with their obscene profits at the expense of taxpayers here in our country who don't pay any taxes. And people say, we're the problem? These are the people who get tax breaks to actually move jobs overseas. General Electric's another one. And that's essentially what's wrong with our country today, that these successful corporations who make their money in the United States of America have the nerve to send good-paying jobs overseas so they can make more money and more money and more money. The top 5 executives of Verizon, as you mentioned, $258 million. The top executive of Verizon, Ivan Seidenberg, makes $55,000 a day. That's his salary. That's obscene. And they wanted the right to eliminate more jobs here in Rhode Island and in this region, in this country, to send them overseas. This is a great fight for all of us in the labor community. And we knew when we went on strike on August the 6th that we would have the support of everyone in the labor movement in this country. And specifically in Rhode Island, we had the support of 80,000 labor families in Rhode Island. Shortly after we went on strike, I got a call from AFL-CIO President George Nee. Whatever we needed, the AFL-CIO was there to help us. Paul McDonald from the Providence Central Labor Council called me first day, whatever you need, we're there with you, because our fight was their fight. And we knew that, and we were very satisfied with the effort that we made, the professional way that we went about getting our message out. We got a lot of great public support because of what the issue was. Rhode Island has the 3rd highest unemployment rate in the country. We were looking to protect jobs in the state of Rhode Island. And that really resonated with the public. So we get some very positive feedback from the public that we were taking on a corporation. And I think everyone admired us for what we did, because I think there's a lot of anger out there at what these corporations are doing to this country. We're in a very tough recession right now, an economic downturn, yet major corporations and banks are holding on to trillions of dollars instead of investing in our country, putting people back to work, which is exactly what they should be doing. And Verizon is one right up there who's doing the same thing. They make a lot of money in this country. They should invest in jobs in this country, put people back to work, get this country back on the right track again.
I want to come back in a few moments and talk about the fact that they paid no federal taxes for the last 2 years. And as a matter of fact, got a tax break of, I believe, more than $1.3 billion.
$1.3 billion.
But just before we talk about that, let's break for a minute and show some of the footage from the rally last Friday, because as you say, it truly was a rally of organized labor around working class, middle class people, the people that built this country. Let's break away for a minute and take a look at some of that footage.
Great.
Broken bones, broken hearts, stripped down and torn apart. A little bit of rust, I'm still running.
My name is George Nee. I'm the president of the Rhode Island AFL-CIO and also the chairman of Working Rhode Island. And we are here this afternoon to show our full support for our brothers and sisters at IBEW 2323 that are on strike against Verizon. This is a fight that is critical to the future of the labor movement. Question's been asked for a while. When are people going to start getting angry enough to fight back? Well, today is the day. This is a corporation that is making billions of dollars and wants to take the working class people and send them back into the days where there was child labor, into the days where there was no minimum wage, into the days where workers had no rights. We're not going to stand for that. This is a company that has been making huge amounts of money because of the hard-working people that work for this company, and it's disgraceful for them to try to undermine the living and working standards of these workers. What is wrong with having a good health insurance plan? What is wrong with having a good pension plan? What is wrong with having job security? This is a fight for all working people. So their fight is our fight, not just union members, but all working people. This is something that is critical to the future of the labor movement. We're proud to be here and stand with our brothers and sisters today. We hope you will join us in showing support for them. I think the public has shown tremendous support, and we're going to keep fighting this thing until they prevail. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Bill McGowan. I'm the business manager of IBEW Local 2323 in Rhode Island. We got to fight to stop the bleeding here and make the middle class stronger, make all working men and women stronger. And that's what this demonstration show of solidarity is with the labor movement. We have a lot of friends in the labor movement. We have a lot of friends in the union movement here in this state. And that makes us stronger because our fight is their fight. And in the union movement, we all stick together because we're one big family. And we take an attack on one personally, and we're going to fight back. We're never going to capitulate, we're never going to surrender, and we're going to win. Thank you.
First off, what I'd like to do is the men and women that are standing these picket lines through thick and thin, rain and shine, I'm going to go picket line by picket line to acknowledge every one of them. So I'd like to start at the LPC in Pawtucket. The Lincoln Garage. The Smithfield Garage. The LPC in Smithfield. The Verizon Wireless store in Smithfield. Allen's Avenue Garage. Woo! The Warwick Garage. Chapel View. The Warwick LPC. The Verizon Wireless store on Bald Hill Road in Warwick. The Tower Hill Garage. Verizon Wireless on 10 Rod Road. The LPC store in Narragansett. The Warren CO. The East Providence Garage. 234 Washington Street. Obviously, I'd like to thank a special thanks out to the motorcycle crew. I know Newport Garage. Carlos, I already got Allen's Avenue. Allen's Avenue again? The Verizon Wireless store in Seacon. One more. Bob. The LPC in Providence, Eagle Street. You may have seen them on YouTube. On our website, they sang down live at Allen's Avenue. They've done a hell of a job. They're gonna sing here live for you guys, and I ask that you sing the chorus along with them. Here's Brian Tillinghast and Justin Draper.
All right, this is Solidarity Forever.
When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood shall run, there shall be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. Yet what force on earth is greater than the feeble strength of one? For the union makes us strong. Everybody! Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. Is there aught we hold in common with these greedy parasites who would lash us into serfdom and would crush us with his might? Is there anything left to do but organize and fight? For the union makes us strong. Let's go! Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. It is we who plow the prairies, built the cities where they trade, dug the mines and dribbled the endless miles of railroad laid. Wonders that we made for the union makes us strong. Let's go! Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. All the world beyond the idle drums is ours and ours alone. Let's go! For the union makes us strong. We know the chorus. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. They have taken untold millions that they never toiled to earn. But without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel can turn. We can break their hearted power, gain our freedom when we learn that the union makes us strong. Yeah. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. In our hands is placed the power greater than their hoarded gold, greater than the might of armies magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to earth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong. Let's go! Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union makes us strong. One more time, everybody! Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. For the union, it makes us strong.
Thank you.
Let's get that contract now.
Brothers and sisters, how are we doing tonight? Take a look around. Your history is being written. You may not realize it now, but your history is being written tonight. And with this strike. As for those few of us left who wrote history in '89 and our forefathers in 1968 and 1947, this is your time. I see youngsters in the crowd tonight, for all of your children and your children's children. You will always be able to tell them that when the time came to stand up to one of the greediest corporations in history and their attempt to destroy the great middle class in this country, you stood up. All of you stood up. when they would have you believe labor was flat on its back and wouldn't take these bastards on, you stood up.
Thank you very much, brothers and sisters from both the IBEW and the CWA. You know, we heard that song about the union makes us strong. The union is all of you here. You're the one who gives us all strength. And Verizon took us on August the 6th because they didn't think you had it in you. Well, you know what? 2 weeks later, they know you got it in you. And our fight wasn't a fight just for us in the IBEW and the CWA. Our fight is a fight for the middle class of this country. When we went on strike to force these people back to the bargaining table and to get them out of their Wisconsin-style bargaining tactics, where they thought we were going to take whatever they put on the table. They thought we were going to submit. Well, you know what? We didn't, and we never will. But when we went out, I knew we were going to have the support of the labor movement. And you know what? The last bastion of hope that our country has is the labor movement in this country. And I'm proud to be part of this labor movement. 45,000 people from Virginia to Massachusetts actually do something every day. And it's something that obviously they can't do. They're already 4 months behind. They can't do it. Their sales are way down. We've captured the attention of the American public. The American public knows how greedy these people are. $26.4 billion isn't enough. They want to send your job to Mexico and to India and to the Philippines because they want more and more and more. Enough is enough. They lied. They're being exposed for their lies, and the people know what they're all about. It's corporate greed. And in Washington, while they try to figure out the debt ceiling while Wall Street crashes, and the president goes on vacation without saying anything about 45,000 people being out of work, I know what's wrong in this country. What's wrong in this country is a corporation like them that made $24.6 billion, didn't pay any taxes, got a $1.3 billion tax check. How does that happen? If we're going to put people back to work, if we're going to get American jobs back in this country, if we're going to lower the unemployment rate here in the state of Rhode Island, which is the third highest in the country, corporations like Verizon and General Electric and the rest of them have to pay their fair share. They have to pay their taxes. We all do.
Everybody thinks that the way to do this is to criticize when somebody has good benefits and good wages. That's not how we made progress in America. We made progress when everybody went to the top, not just a small group. We are sick and tired. We're sick and tired of the race to the bottom. And you, the Verizon strikers, are leading the labor movement. And Kevin was right. We're making history because today, and this strike, will be the beginning of the fight to the top for all working people, and you're leading the way. We thank you. On behalf of the whole labor movement, thank you for your courage. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you for your struggle. We will stand with you. Solidarity forever.
I got to tell you, I take this one a little personally. We were there 22 years ago with you. We are here today with you. But I was very lucky. 30 years ago, I was an IBEW 2323 member running cable in this building. But they're right. This is a fight for the heart and soul of the middle class of America. They can't send any more of our jobs overseas. We need good health care. We need retirement security. The 12,000 members of the NEA stand with the 45,000 members of Verizon throughout the country. The 3.2 million members of NEA nationally stand with the 45,000 members of Verizon that are on strike. And I see a lot of other folks in the crowd here, too. The AFT is here. The food workers are here. I'm going to get in trouble by mentioning everybody. The laborers are here. The Teamsters are here. The building trades are here. Everybody's here because this is all of our fight.
Now, this is what I call a union meeting. I also spoke with George about potentially doing this once a month and having a down-home union meeting right here in the street. So companies like Verizon don't forget where they came from and who does the work and who goes out and sweats and toils every day so that when you turn on your phone, it works. When you flush the toilet, it works. When you get in an accident, the police and the fire, they come to rescue. And don't forget who the rank and file union members are in this country and what we do to make lives better for everybody. So when Billy asked me to get up here and say, not only on behalf of Construction and General Labor's 271, which I'm the business manager of, but on behalf of the officers and members of the 10,000 proud, strong brothers and sisters of the Rhode Island Building and Construction Trades Council, we are there with you. We know your struggles. We fight them day in and day out, and we will continue to be there with you to make sure that good jobs and good pay and jobs in this country and Congress gets off its ass and finally starts to do something for the middle class. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Well said. And thanks to all the laborers who are here this evening with us.
When I put this shirt on just a minute ago, I put it on for a reason. Because I want you to know I stood tall with you years ago. I'm standing tall with you now. And when I go to the market, if I go to Stop and Shop, I'm wearing the shirt. If I go get gas, I'm wearing the shirt. If I go to the doctor's, I'm wearing the shirt. In fact, I'm wearing the shirt till the strike is over. God bless you. God bless your union. Solidarity forever. I can't believe that we're getting into hurricane season. We've got 45,000 Verizon workers out in the street. The entire eastern seaboard is in jeopardy because the company sent a handful of jackasses with no collective bargaining experience whatsoever to negotiate your contract and forced you out on strike, and now you're out on strike and they know, holy Christ, what the hell did we do now? I bring you the support and the respect of the 12,000 members of the largest private sector labor union in Southern New England, the United Food and Commercial Workers, Local 328.
Sounds like Jimmy's been at the bargaining table because we certainly are dealing with jackasses on the other side. Our next speaker, I'm proud to have another person who's no stranger to our picket lines and somebody who's been here for us many, many years. Patrick Quinn from SEIU. Patrick.
Fired up! We're fired up! We're fired up! We're fired up! This is a great sight right here. All these people out here looks awesome to me. I want to salute the rank and file members of this local. You guys are out there in the winter, in the heat, in the floods. We have to recognize that you're not going to go forward in this country with trying to drag everybody to the bottom. I'd like to be 6'3", but I'm only 5'10", and I'm not going to put Billy in a hole and that's going to make me bigger. Everybody has to understand that. We go up together. Thank you for taking on this fight. Thank you. I just want to say to all of you, in 1199, we're pretty familiar with strikes. We've been out at Women and Infants and Butler and many, many places around the state. And we have a saying, whatever it takes for as long as it takes. So stay strong, stay together. Your unity is what's going to win this. You got great leadership. You got a huge public relations campaign because people understand. It's taken a while. It really has for the people who are not in unions to understand that these are the fights that we have to have if we're going to have something other than a third world economy. So thank you very much. Stay strong. You're going to win.
Patrick, thank you very much.
It truly is good to see that kind of labor support over an issue that grew this country. Coming back to the discussion, gentlemen, I think it's really important for us to have at least another commentary, not just about the profit, not just about the salaries that are going out there, but the fact that this company doesn't pay taxes. What astounds me is that in a climate like this, where unemployment is off the Richter scale, when we're going through some of the toughest economic times that we've had since the Depression, the market is up and down. We have a company like this that wants to take jobs of hard-working, middle-class people who earn, because of the union, a good income and ship them overseas. So now we have even higher unemployment, less investment in the country. It just astounds me. I mean, there's nothing about economic development there that hits me other than putting a little bit of money, a whole lot more money in a few other pockets and increasing unemployment. What are your thoughts about where you're going to go in the future? How do you address this issue as a union? Either one of you.
Well, it's, to your point, the company makes an absolutely obscene amount of money, which per se, I suppose, is not necessarily a problem to the extent they are willing, when the time comes, to share that profit with the workforce that made it possible in the first place, which is sort of philosophically part of the problems we had with this particular round of bargaining, I think.
And the issue is that the company tried to bring out was the world is changing, their business is changing. They make more profit in wireless than they do the traditional landline. And in many respects, that's true. However, they would not have been able to invest in wireless had they not taken the profits from landline, which our members have had a history of the last 100 years making economically successful, to make that business profitable as well. And when they talk about their landline loss, they don't take into account FiOS, where we, as a union, retrained all of our members to do different jobs than what they used to do, in an effort to help, build the economy and in an effort to help make this corporation successful. But with all the ills that we have in our country today, it's unconscionable that a corporation like Verizon, with so much profits, doesn't pay taxes, where every hard-working Rhode Islander, whether they belong to a union family or not, their taxes continue to go up and up and up. We have a state budget that the political leaders find a hard time balancing the budget. Yet right here in this state, we have a corporation that's not paying taxes. Everyone has to do their fair share. That's what makes America great. And when you have the super rich not doing their fair share, there's something wrong with our structure. There's something wrong with our political system that allows that to happen. And there's something wrong philosophically with anyone accepting that. And it's not the fault of unions who basically strive to elevate the standard of living to. I take great pride in trying to get my members what they deserve for their hard work. And that's a decent wage, decent medical benefits, a decent pension when it comes time to retire. And throughout the years that they work, they make sure that the companies that they work for stay successful, like Verizon. So I don't make any apologies for doing what my job is, because that's the right thing to do. And all of us should be looking to elevate the standard of living for all working people. I think George Nee said it best. You know, we should be having a race to the top instead of a race to the bottom. And with medical benefits, it's a huge issue that the company talked about. We want to work with them on medical benefits. Their philosophy to shift the cost of medical benefits to the employee, and I understand many Rhode Islanders are paying co-pays for health care benefits. It doesn't give you a better system. There's an old adage, you don't want to put good money after bad. There's a lot of problems in our health care delivery system. And just by throwing more money on it doesn't cure the inherent problems. And sometimes by making people pay more, they don't take the precautions they should if they have a chronic condition. If they have to pay more money to get their medication, whether for high blood pressure, cholesterol, things like that, they might not do that. And in the long run, it might cost the system a lot more because they're not taking care of these chronic conditions. So our emphasis on healthcare and trying to solve the healthcare problem was to ensure that we keep people healthier. And that would be through wellness programs and things of that nature to take care of chronic conditions to help drive the costs down. We thought that made a lot of business sense.
Let me ask you a very plain question. Was this an issue of union busting?
I don't think there's any doubt about it. And the company claimed it was. They were looking to set back collective bargaining 50 years. They saw what was happening in Wisconsin, Ohio, some other states. Some of the demands that they made on our brothers and sisters in the public sector unions, by virtue of their contracts, they cannot go on strike. And they forced some of those unions to make some of the concessions they had to make based upon the economic realities that maybe cities and towns in the state had. We were quite different with Verizon. We had a very successful corporation, but Verizon misread the union. They misread our members. They thought because of the tough economic conditions, we were just going to roll over and take whatever they gave us. We're not going to take that. We're going to demand our fair share. We wanted nothing more than to maintain what we had. And obviously what we had, our contract which expired on August 6th, the company was still able to make $26.4 billion in 2 years. So they can't say that our contract was weighing them down. And all we wanted throughout this entire process was to maintain what we had, maintain what we fought so many years for. We've had a long strike in 1989, 16 weeks. My father, when he worked for the company, endured a 20-week strike in 1968 with the old New England telephone. Those strikes, which really try men and women's souls, helped us band together during this strike of 2011 because we saw the history and we saw how important it was for people to stick together. And we were not going to be busted by Verizon or anyone else. We were going to hang tough, do what we thought we had to do. We took the moral high ground. And after 2 weeks, the company came back and said, okay, we will extend your collective bargaining agreement intact indefinitely. And that was all we wanted on August the 6th, which they never offered to do.
It's interesting. All around this country, there are challenges on current contracts. There are school districts that are challenging local district contracts, and they're saying, at the end of the contract, no contract exists. We can do whatever we want. And simply that attitude alone is the beginning of the end of the middle class. You know, history shows us over and over again that as unions go, so too does the middle class. And I think this country was built on the backs of hardworking Americans, hardworking middle-class workers. And now that they're under attack, it becomes more and more evident that we, the organized, have to become stronger. And I have to compliment Verizon. But I want to compliment organized labor in particular, because it must make you feel good at the rally, as the picket signs were up, as people acknowledged as they drove by that you had to stand tough, that you represented Verizon, but you also represented middle-class working America.
We're very proud of that, and we're very proud and we're thankful for all the support that we had, because we were on the right side of this issue. It was all about jobs. It was all about maintaining our way of life and the middle-class way of life. And you're absolutely correct about unions and how much good they've done over the years. And my union, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, was started at the turn of the century. And it was organized and formed because people were actually dying in the electrical industry because of unsafe conditions. We just celebrated, not that long ago, the anniversary of the Triangle Fire in New York, where all those young women perished. No way out because the management had locked the doors to make them more productive. That's how unions got their start. And I think, Bob, if 2011 is any indication, we're going back to those days where people want to bust unions, where people want to set us back in history, like Verizon, 50 years. And we can never go back. We have to go forward. And we have to do whatever we can to elevate the middle class of this country that makes this country run. And there's nothing wrong with a union that wants to ensure that their members are paid adequately, that they have adequate benefits, that they can save money to go into retirement, that they can send their children to college, so that they can better their lives, like my father did, and many of his generation, the greatest generation. The sad part now, as we are in 2011, is we don't know if we're going to be able to provide all those things for our children because of what's going on and the attacks on working class Americans, even though corporate profits have never been higher. Just a story I'd like to share with you. When we went on strike in New York at midnight on August the 6th, we had been waiting for the company to come back to the bargaining table. They left at 10 o'clock in the morning, August the 6th. They told us they were going to come back with another proposal. They never returned. So we waited another couple of hours. 2 o'clock in the morning, I headed back to Rhode Island to be with my members because the strike was, we were engaged. And I stopped at home and I picked up my son, who's 9, and I took him with me back to the office and trying to organize some things on the picket line. And on the way back to the office, he said, what are me and my friends going to do if they move all these jobs out of the country? There's going to be no opportunities for us and my friends. Now that's a 9-year-old that gets it right. So I would hope that those in corporate America who make all their profits here, and I'm not bemoaning the fact that they made $258 million in 4 years, good for them. But all we wanted was to be treated equally, with fairness, with dignity, with respect. And I don't think that's a lot to ask for. And that's what the union movement is all about. So thank God for the union movement. If it wasn't for the union movement, there doesn't seem to be anyone else out there advocating for the middle class of this country, for working Americans. So without the union movement, I don't know where we would be. I shudder the thought.
Well, I mean, we've often heard of a rising tide raises all ships. And when we take a look at workers' compensation and labor laws and health and safety standards, things that you referred to, you know, the number of incidences of accidents on your jobs on the job with your father. My father was a steel worker who had his leg injured on the steel plant. He worked in mines and had lost a finger. It was organized labor. It was unions that changed the tone of that made environments safe, gave fair wages. In light of that, how difficult is it going to be to go back to the bargaining table now, knowing that they really did want to bust the union?
I think my job is always to go to the bargaining table, keep an open mind, and try to do what's right for the members that I represent. And what's right is delivering to them a fair and just contract. No more, no less. What I found rather offensive since bargaining began with Verizon on June 22nd, that the people on the other end of the table, management, sat there like statues. To this day, they never even accepted or rejected the over 50 proposals that the union made on behalf of our members. Proposals which included ways to help drive down costs of health care. Proposals that included ways to make workers more productive and efficient. Proposals that would have made a lot of good business sense to the company as well. See, we understand that the company has to be successful for our members to be successful. So we made all of these proposals which we thought were in the best interests of our members, but ultimately made good sense for the company as well, so that labor and management could work together in a cooperative atmosphere. That's the secret to success, for labor and management to work together. And I've seen this in the state of Rhode Island through my time on the Governor's Workforce Board, where we have labor and management working together to try to create more jobs in this state. We have many businesses that are growing in this state, but it's all through collaboration and working together. And management who was sent to the table, and it was perhaps they were told by their superiors, corporate Verizon in the Ivory Tower in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, where they reside, that you're just to sit there and, you know, not say anything. So that's not collective bargaining, and that's why their intent was very clear, that they were looking to bust us. They gave us a proposal that basically took away 50 years of collective bargaining rights, over 100 diminishments on our existing contract from this very successful corporation. We were insulted over that. They never gave us a counterproposal at all for the 2 months we were there. The first counterproposal that we got back from Verizon after June 22nd was on August the 10th, after we had been out on strike. And that was the famous proposal they said they were going to give us prior to us going out on strike on that night. But that was the first time they even gave us back a proposal. But then the contract talks continued to drag on as well, until I think the thought finally sank into Verizon that we were not going to accept anything less than what we had. We'll go back to the table, the union now, and go back to the table to work with the company on ways that we can make them stronger and on ways that protects our members' jobs. We'll do that. We know there's issues in medical that we have to work with them on. There's no doubt about that, and we want to do that. But we want to be an equal partner in this. And what we've seen with Verizon over the past several years is that they just want to dictate. They don't want to work with us. They want to roll us over. And we're not going to be rolled over. And 45,000 employees made sure that we weren't going to be rolled over. And that's not going to happen. So we want to be an equal partner, go back, and we want to bargain in good faith like we've always done. And that's what I'm hoping that we'll be able to do. I think they have to change the people that they had on the side of the table, though. I don't think there's any doubt about that. There has to be someone sent there who can actually bargain a contract and respond to proposals that are being made. That's what the collective bargaining process is all about.
Yeah, you know what, Bill? Of all people, I think you'll be very successful in going back, and I know that it will happen. As we close the show, first of all, I want to thank you both for attending. I know that it's been a long 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months of negotiating.
2 months.
And I really want to thank you for taking the time out of the schedule to sit down and let the general public know about the other side of the story.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. You're welcome. And I want to thank you. Kevin Desmond is the past president of IBEW 2323 and the current assistant business manager.
He's a great asset, and I'd like to thank all of our members in Local 2323 that made a stand, that had the courage to do what was right. I'm very proud of that fact, and I'm proud to represent them. And I'm so thankful for everyone in organized labor in this state, and I thank you for having us.
Well, thank you, Bill. Again, Bill McGowan is the business manager for IBEW Local 2323.
Thank you, Bob.
A friend of labor.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, gentlemen,
Thank you.
for attending. And let's take a few moments and listen to the sights and the sounds of the work of organized labor to improve the lives of working Rhode Islanders. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And people ask me about this faith. What kind of faith is it? Is it religious faith? No. I believe that kind of faith is a personal thing. The faith I'm talking about is a faith in humanity, a faith in community, a faith that finds its ultimate expression in international solidarity. There is power in a union. Power in the lines, power in the hand of the worker. But it all amounts to nothing if together we don't stand. There is power in a union. Now the lessons of the past are all learned with workers' blood. The mistakes of the bosses we must pay for. From the cities and the farmlands to trenches full of mud. War has always been the boss's way, sir. The union forever defending our rights. Down with the black leg workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters, together we will stand. There is power in a union. Now I long for the morning that they realise brutality and unjust laws cannot defeat us. Who'll defend the workers who cannot organise when the bosses send their lackeys out to cheat us? Money speaks for money, the devil for his own. Who comes to speak for the skin and the bone? What a comfort to the widow, a light to the child. Yeah, there's power in a union. Forever defending our rights. Down with the black leg workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters, together we will stand. There is power in a union. The union forever defending our rights. Down with the black leg workers unite. With our brothers and our sisters, together we will stand. There is power in a union. Thanks very much. We had a great night tonight at Shrewsbury. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Even you, mate.
Thank you for joining us for this evening's edition of Labor Vision. We appreciate your input and encourage your comments. Labor Vision can be seen 3 times each week here on Channel 14. Join us on Tuesdays at 7 p.m., Thursdays at 8 p.m., and Saturdays at 5 p.m.